If you knew what true freedom was, it wouldn't hurt you to say what you feel like saying. And I felt that way even before money or before a book or a TV show or anything. So yeah, freedom of speech is number one to me, and I want to keep it alive, keep it rolling, even more into the future. Kanye West came out with his rants. Kanye West is my favorite musical artist of all time, and I made a huge thread about FTX describing the girl that was involved. Her name is escaping my mind right now, but the girl that was involved, the parents, how they were professors at Stanford, and all the connections they had with the Ukraine and the Democrat Party and all of that. The incident we just discussed, the FTX incident, was a part of the book not coming out, but even before that, some of the things that were written in Bitcoin and Black America too, which has been written. I had to rewrite it about 10 times because it's been written. They shelved it. They wouldn't let it come out. When you talk about the wrong types of people, I had 2 bank accounts taken, PayPal, Stripe, Amazon. A lot of things were taken at that point. And then even the book itself, they wouldn't even allow publishing, and they shelved it for a while. But again, I just don't tell people my problems. And people are like, hold up, this has been going on for the last couple of years. I'm like, yeah, I've been in and out fighting with lawyers and all this stuff, whatever. But I just don't tell people because I'm like, once it comes out, you'll see what I mean when I say this book could change everything forever.
So let's start from the beginning, Zay. So what was the vision and mission for Black Bitcoin Billionaires?
Oh yeah, so COVID happened and everybody was at home, and at the time, me and Lamar had worked before. We had a show on Facebook back in like 2017. Me, him, and King, we used to do like a weekly show. So we were familiar with doing a show, educating people, answering questions. And he hit me up in about November or December 2020. He said, hey, man, it's this new app called Clubhouse. A lot of people are on it. It's a lot of, people who are looking for Bitcoin knowledge. And we would be one of the first to even have a channel that was promoting Bitcoin education. So as soon as he said it, I was with it. It took less than 5 minutes. I know Lamar. I know he works well. So I was like, yep. We get on Clubhouse, and before we had an official name, we would literally just get on there, invite people via Twitter, and then because everybody was at home and most people weren't going out, we were able to get hundreds, even thousands of people on our live streams pretty much every day, because we were doing them every single day, probably for 3 months or so. He was giving away Bitcoin to people. Other people would come on, like CJ, who you've had, and Naja, and a lot of the Black people who were coming on. They had questions that to us seemed like old. We were like, oh, people still don't understand, that it's divisible, like just the simple basics. So we were like, all right, well, we should make this, actually official, and get some moderators and have, different shows for different questions. And that's when we came up with the name Black Bitcoin Billionaires. Lamar came up with it, and he asked me if I liked it. I did, and again, went from there. And that was the start of it. And we found so much talent, within the Bitcoin space and outside of it that we brought into Bitcoin. We were able to talk with people like Meek Mill, Soulja Boy, and different roundtables with billionaires like Mike Novogratz, with Jack Dorsey. And we just went from there with the Black Bitcoin Billionaires. And now it's taken off. We have, I believe, over 200,000 members worldwide.
Yeah, 100%. Black Bitcoin Billionaires for me has been like this vessel of just brotherhood, unity, sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like all these different pieces coming together and becoming Voltron. Like it was one of those. It was like one of those moments for me during the pandemic. I had bought your book, and you were the first person I saw that it said certified Bitcoin professional, and I was like, what the hell is that, right? So I started to look into it, like, what is a certified Bitcoin professional? And you were the first person I ever seen with that title on a book. So I dug in. I was like, oh, we paid $100 worth of Bitcoin. At the time, I'm like, I'm not giving no Bitcoin out. I'm trying to stack.
Right.
But long story short, going into those rooms, meeting Lamar, meeting Dr. Shalair and Naja Roberts and yourself and CJ and the Bitcoin Vegan, it was like I never seen a movement like that on a digital platform for Black folks. Like it was like Jack Dorsey sitting in the room, Jamie Foxx is in there, and it's like they're all listening to us talk about Bitcoin. And I just think that was a movement that you and Lamar created that was just something that was next level, and we've never seen that before outside of like maybe Earn Your Leisure or something like. And you guys kind of predate them in a sense too. So Yeah.
Yeah, and I do remember, when we first were having these rooms, being surprised because even though I had been in the space at that time, I'd been in the space like 7, 8 years. I didn't realize how many Black people were hungry for knowledge about Bitcoin until that time period. Because even though I had written the book like a year prior, I was basically on the road. I was in the streets basically. Like most people that know me know, I meet people in person. I'm having meetups in person. I'm doing dates in person. I'm meeting people at the gas station. I'm, getting people to get Bitcoin ATMs. Like I'm in the street. So I'm getting the pushback on one side, but I'm also, helping some other people. But this was like mind blowing because you're right. We're sitting in a room with, Jack billionaires and Jamie Foxx and big name people. And they're like, yeah, I want to learn. Hill Harper came a little bit later. Like these type of people that were like, well, we've been waiting to find some Black people that do about it because we hear them talking about it, other people from other countries and other groups, but our culture has to get involved. So it was great to see, and we just got to keep it going because this next bull run, I think, is the most important one, probably so far in Bitcoin history. Last one was okay, but it was kind of tainted with the pandemic and everything. This time around is more organic, and Bitcoin's getting more scarce, so it's gonna be huge this time around.
Yes, I can agree with that 100%, Zay. And I want to talk about the inspiration behind Bitcoin in Black America, because I think that book was so instrumental for so many Black people to get involved in Bitcoin. I know it was extremely instrumental for me as a writer, as a content creator, to see that book on the shelves, to see how much traction it has gotten on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and it kind of just blew up. And it was like, who is this guy, Bitcoin Zay? We need to find out more about him. So I wanted to know from you, Zay, your book kind of sparked this significant conversation and almost this revolution within the Bitcoin community. What motivated you to write this book, and what do you hope readers take away from it?
Yeah, so the book was written in 2019, and prior to that, I had taught I would say thousands of Black people about Bitcoin and others as well. But I wanted to put something out that I always wanted to write a book for one, but I just wanted to put something out that everybody could, grab it, read it all in one place without having to do it individually because I was kind of inefficient.
Tired of the banks? What? Ready to take control of your Bitcoin? Welcome to Unbanked. With over 28,000 Bitcoin ATMs at CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and Costco, buy or sell Bitcoin with cash. No KYC, just a phone number and email. Sell your Bitcoin with zero fees and get instant cash. Or send it to PayPal, Venmo, or your debit card with no wait time. Unlike Coinbase, Swan, or Strike, Unbank never holds your money. Trusted since 2014, Unbank is the go-to name in Bitcoin exchanges. And this new year, they're giving back. Win $200 in Bitcoin. Just download the Unbank app and sign up at unbank.com/Bitcoin source. But hurry! This giveaway ends February 28th. Don't miss your chance to snag free sats. Unbank your life.
All of that stuff is set up for you to not be able to get wealth or for it to take a very long time, right? So I was like, well, let's do something about it. Bitcoin can't be that bad. Like we got to try everything, right? If we're trying to galvanize an entire community. And this time around, we have people that can actually help. We have allies. That's the best part about Bitcoin is even for your enemies, even people you don't like use Bitcoin. They have to. They don't have a choice. And once I had that realization, put the book out. Again, I really didn't expect it to have as much traction. I thought it was going to be more of a cult classic, more of like one of my favorite movies is Half Baked by Dave Chappelle, like something like that, where it's like it's a cult classic, people love it, but it wouldn't be pretty mainstream. And then Jack Dorsey kind of changed that, but when he tweeted out the book back in February 2020, right before the pandemic kind of picked up, he tweeted it out, and that's when it got kind of crazy and expanded. But yeah, my whole thought process was it'll be a little cult classic. We got our little crowd on the Gentleman of Crypto. I know some Black people who I've consulted. It'll be great for them, and they can tell their family. But now once it got out, and I think people saw the message that was behind it, they were like, yeah, we need to try something different. At least try. I mean, doing the same thing over, getting the same results is a form of insanity, and it's insane to think that we would continue with these same old solutions and not try something that I think will actually solve the problems that we're talking about.
100%. And you know what's so insane about that book, Zay, is just me being like a writer and authoring a couple books myself. What I found so unique about your book, which is crazy, and why I do think it is a cult classic, is because you literally just have paperback. Like, there's no like Kindle, there's no audio book, there's no visuals. Like, you had marketing, you went on a tour for it, but I really feel like the meat and bones of that book is like people physically holding it in their hands,
Mhm.
picking it up, reading it, and passing it to another person.
Yeah.
And I think that is what solidifies you as like a good writer, a good author, because when people just organically want your physical paperback,
Yep.
it's like, that's
Right.
fire. Like, I think that's what really set your book apart from other people in the space.
Right. And you know, it's funny you said about marketing. I wrote my marketing plan on a napkin at this bar. Dead serious. I was at this bar at the Belmont, my favorite bar in LA. I used to live by it. And I walked up there the day before I was going to put it out. And I wrote my marketing plan literally on a napkin. And the marketing plan was to pay for the tour. I paid for my own book tour, and to hand it to people in person because it sticks more when you do it in person. See, that's one thing like I'm not afraid to do is to do it organically, because with the Gentlemen of Crypto, that's how we grew. It was organic. We didn't have a marketing plan, we didn't have anything, no email marketing, nothing at first. And we knew when it's organic, people stick with you. They'll stick with you for years because the appreciation of you handing it to them in their face and being able to discuss the ideas that are in the book. People love that, and they remember that for years. So that was my marketing plan, was to make it as organic as possible. And because, like I said, when things get passed around, like in the, you were around during the DVD era, you'd be in the barbershop and you'd be like, and one mixtapes. That's how it became popular. Or somebody's mixtapes got Lil Wayne mixtapes back in the day. Hey, they might have been stolen. Some of them might have been, taken from wherever, but the information got out there, and now, they're legends forever. And that's kind of what I was going for.
100%. It reminds me of the G Unit radio days.
Yeah, yeah. G on the radio days. Yeah, like anything that's organic. If the product is good, I had the confidence in the product where I was like, I know it's good. It's just if I start trying to market it too much, it might go mainstream, and the people who need it may not get it. So I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna hand it to people and see what they think, man. I'm in out the trunk, baby. That's how you got to do it sometimes, like Master P.
I want to talk about the intersection of Bitcoin and social justice, because I think that your book highlights this fact a lot more than some of the other books that came after Bitcoin and Black America. And in your work, you've always highlighted how Bitcoin can be a tool for economic empowerment and social justice. Can you elaborate on how Bitcoin aligns with these goals, particularly within the Black community?
So, absolutely. And, the social justice piece, I'm one of those people. I grew up in a family where the social justice that you're looking for comes from within. It's stop looking out the window and look in the mirror. So basically, you have to individually have what's needed in order to change your own circumstance. And I think Bitcoin is a great way for people to be self-sovereign, for people to control their money, which is the basis of everything else. Once you control your own money, everything else looks a little bit easier to control from that point. If your bank account can be taken at any time, if your wealth can be taken via inflation, if you can be taxed so much that you barely are taking home, you don't even control your own time at that point. You have to start with Bitcoin. So, and whenever you talk about social justice, being able to have certain things change based on a Bitcoin standard is great. I mean, I'm so encouraged now, because without Bitcoin, I wouldn't be as encouraged. But with it, I'm so encouraged that, hey, for the future, we always have the ability to change our own social layers, our own social groups, socioeconomic status, because of Bitcoin as the foundation. Because on a fiat standard, you're constantly working, constantly paying bills, you're constantly paying the state, you're making them more and more powerful over time. And then your kids have to do the same thing. So it's just this generational rat race that never ends. Whereas Bitcoin, it's low time preference. You don't want to buy things with your Bitcoin. You don't want to just spend it on whatever. You actually want to learn about the economics, the physics, the all of the cryptography and the history of money, which actually increases the amount of Bitcoin you want to get. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, so to say. And when we talk about changing things socially, a lot of things, like for example, in the Black community, one of the biggest things people discuss is redlining or housing, like where Black people live at or whatnot. A lot of that was based on the fact that when you were making money in these certain areas, it wasn't actually going towards your own benefit. You were paying taxes to the local government who was using it to enrich the other side of town. So, but if it was on a Bitcoin standard and you owned your own money, then you would be enriching your own neighborhoods, which then over time would have increased in value. So things like that, we would have solved it ourselves if Bitcoin was always here. In America, but abroad as well. Our brothers and sisters in African countries and Caribbean countries and Europe, wherever, everybody has a chance to be self-sovereign, to solve the issues themselves, get their tribe, and then be able to enact social justice that way. And I love it. I think we finally found one part of the solution to people being free.
100%. And, you know, I was so inspired by your book, by Black Bitcoin Billionaires, that I wrote a book called Stacking Sats is a New Black. Yeah. And essentially that book was me just sitting in the clubhouse rooms for a year as like a fly on the wall to see what this social impact would be for African American people from underserved communities, the unbanked, what that experience is like, learning from people and the mods and BBB. And, you know, I think that, you know, yourself, your book, all the things that you've done socially to impact people with Bitcoin, whether it's in Miami or LA, kind of like advocating for people in those communities. I think that was a culmination of all those things factoring into one, for sure.
Yeah, and I love that title, Stagger Sats is the New Black, because that's one thing that I really wanted to hit home, is that, you know, in other communities, they're known for certain things, whether it's stereotypical or not. You know, different communities have different things that they're known for, and I wanted the Black community to be known to be at the forefront of the Bitcoin and crypto movement, and we're basically there. I don't know if you know, but when we first started the channel, the Gentlemen of Crypto, 2017, they had a poll, Coinbase, and Black people were the least likely to be in crypto. And then they did another poll in 2022. We were number one. We were most likely to be in crypto. So in a 5-year span of just, you know, Black Bitcoin Billionaires, Bitcoin Black America, and people telling each other, you know, in different places, having the partnership with Cash App and all of those things, 5 short years, we went from last to first. And that's what I really wanted to get Black people to understand, is that we can do it. It's just, you have to consciously think to yourself, okay, do I actually want to change what's going on? Do I want to be a sitting duck and just allow life to happen to me? Or do I want to be proactive? And because of that, being proactive, I know it's a lot of people all in the crypto game, but that's perfect. That's a perfect breeding ground to bring them into more of Bitcoin talk, less of the, you know, the DGen gambling side, which, hey, man, do what you want. I'm about freedom. But at the same time, when we're talking about a money system that can change everything forever, that's kind of what we're getting to. And now, you know, all we have to do is just keep continuing on. We've done the work.
You know, there's an estimated 63 million Americans that are unbanked, underbanked, or have a lack of access to traditional financial systems. Are there any specific cultural or social aspects that make Bitcoin particularly appealing or relevant to Black Americans as a tool for wealth preservation and financial sovereignty, in your opinion?
So the first part about, you know, Black people as far as wealth and sovereignty is cool, but as far as the access to Bitcoin is widespread enough to where even if you don't necessarily have the greatest setup as far as technical or the electricity grid or wherever you live, anybody can run a node for free with just the internet connection. That's it. So I think access is number one, is that you can help assist the Bitcoin blockchain with just the internet connection, right? And you know, other projects, they've reached out a small amount, but Bitcoin has enough reach where anybody can actually help the network. And then as far as the wealth creation and the sovereignty aspect of it, being able to run a node is good, but also being able to have miners if you want it, to be able to have access to peer-to-peer, non-KYC or KYC exchanges. Bitcoin is more broad, so you have that access, even all the way to the point now where we have ETFs. I mean, exchange traded funds. Trillion-dollar companies are now giving access to, quote unquote, not Bitcoin in self-custody, but access to that market, or at least exposure to that market, right? It's all baby steps. So I think Bitcoin has been relevant for Black people, because when we talk about access, that's all most people need. They don't want handouts. They just want access and opportunity. And I think Bitcoin does that because it changes your mindset. Like, hey, why is there capital controls? Why don't we have the ability? We have $1,000 computer in our pocket. why do we not have the ability to access markets like other countries? So now that barrier is kind of gone, the floodgates have opened. I've seen, projects in certain countries where all you need is a cell phone number and service, and you can use Bitcoin. I've seen people be able to use Bluetooth payment, NFC payments, the ability to use. I've seen radio waves, satellite waves. Like, people were like, okay, well, we basically busted down the gates, and Bitcoin is giving access for anybody access to markets. And Reggie Middleton, good friend of mine, he says that all the time. He says, Bitcoin is great, but he's like, the biggest focus is access to markets. You have to give people the ability to access something, to actually see if you're on level playing ground. If you are the only country or only group of people that's been playing, and then another group of people have never played, you can't really say you're the best. Like, I just read this story. It is Black History Month. I try to read a little bit every day of people I don't know. There was two sisters before Serena and Venus. People don't know this. In the 1930s and 40s, they were the two of the best tennis players in the world, and they went to Tuskegee University. And I believe that the last name was Peters or Pete, and they weren't allowed to play with their white counterparts. So they were crushing everybody, but they weren't allowed to play with their white counterparts. So we don't actually know if those white counterparts that won all those trophies in the 30s and 40s, if they were that good, because there was no access. As soon as we got the access, who's the best tennis players of all time? Serena and Venus. Like, that's what we mean is like, hey, if you give us access, the same thing with Jackie Robinson. If they didn't allow him in, it's like, okay, well, we're the best in the world. And it's like, well, you got the Negro leagues right there. Satchel Paige and all of them. Satchel Paige played till he was like 50. Like, you know what I mean? You just didn't give access. So once that happens, then we can actually see who's better at it, or who can actually impact the market more. And I think we're starting to see that now.
Of course, all of the people that are unbanked or underbanked might not be the case in the next decade. Right. Once you start to have, ubiquitous or universal internet via satellites in space, and easier access to mobile cell phones, like even what you mentioned about like just having Telelink or internet link service and a cell phone provider service. Like, you have organizations like Montreal.
That's what I'm thinking of the whole time. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. You can just send it through a text message. So, KG is the founder of that, and that's just kind of one of the things where that's going to build into a bigger ecosystem as time goes on. So, you definitely hit the nail on the head, Zay, with kind of understanding the bigger vision for where this is going to go, instead of just trying to be siloed into just making this mainly about African Americans or people that are unbanked.
And also, I do want to throw in there, not just Black people, young people. That's also important, because what other time in history have young people been able to make millions, like, ever? This is the first time period where you can actually get on TikTok and you can see a 13-year-old day trading crypto or talking about NFTs or being able to code and get contracts and create smart contracts and all that. And these are kids. And, access to markets, adults try to gatekeep that as well. Like, well, you're a kid, you shouldn't be able to. No. In the digital age, we're talking about everything. No racism, no ageism, no, classism, keeping people out. That's why I teach the summer camp, because there's some brilliant kids that they're basically being used for their knowledge, but they're not making any money from it. That time is gone now. Like, I taught a kid that was 12 years old last year. He'll probably be employed by the time he's 16, because his dad was teaching him trading when he was like 8 or 9. He's learning how to code now. He loves Bitcoin. He loves crypto. He loves the whole market. And imagine at 12, if he was stifled because you're not old enough to have a bank account, or you're not old enough to actually hold a wallet. And it's like, no, he has a cell phone. He has a Lightning wallet. He has a regular wallet. His money, he takes it straight out of there. He plays video games on Solana and takes it out and puts it in his own. You know what I mean? Things like that. Age is another aspect of it too, because that gives you the ability at a young age to actually learn. And even though people are like, well, they might lose money. Well, that's what parents are for. They're supposed to guide them, but you don't want to stop them from pursuing it, because you don't know how many young people had great ideas and could make a lot of money until now.
Zay, I want to kind of like peel back the layers a little bit and kind of get more into the personal journey into the crypto space. So, as Bitcoin kind of becomes bigger, it becomes more of a financial asset for people. How can new entrepreneurs, because I know that you kind of have like this entrepreneurial spirit when it comes to Bitcoin, how can new entrepreneurs carve their path with an increasingly crowded and well-funded space?
Oh yeah. So um, I would say the first thing is networking. You know, you did it. You networked with via Clubhouse with Black Bitcoin Billionaires. Others have as well. Um, People in the Bitcoin space will help you. That's the best part I think about this space is that when I first started, most of the questions I had got answered quickly. Like it wasn't like, oh well, I'll figure it out later. Oh well, look this up and you'll figure it out. You know, I come from the tech world, so it's always like they kind of push you off, like, oh, just go research, just go to Stack Overflow or go over to whatever website and find it yourself. But Bitcoin people will sit and discuss it with you. So networking is number one. If you're a business owner, depending on what type of business you run or want to run, if you find people that have that same thought process as you or that have the solutions, they'll give it away because all that does is help me to help you. And then it ultimately helps the entire space. So again, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, it's a change in the way of thought instead of competition. Like if somebody had the exact same business as me in the Bitcoin space, I would want to work with them instead of compete because it's like, we know the real competition that, you know, that's a huge competition, the traditional finance market, which has been around for years, hundreds of years, really. And so people will network with you. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is you have to do the work and you have to actually study the history of what you're getting into. Study the history of money. Study the history of Bitcoin. Look at the Black history of Bitcoin. If you want to work, look at, you know, people like myself, Naja, Lamar, Reggie Middleton, the work that we've done along the way, because we may have already done something or answered questions that you are looking for. Like you may say to yourself, I wonder if I'm able to put Bitcoin on in my treasury for my business. And then we're like, oh, well, we already handled that. You know, the treasury stuff was back in 2017, 2018. So you don't have to, you know, start from scratch, so to say. So do the work, do the research. You know, I always say, try to get 1,000 hours before you start, you know, poking your chest out, like you know what's going on. Go through a cycle. You have to see that as well. So yeah, network, do the work and study. And then last but not least, put some skin in the game because a lot of people can talk in theory and talk in circles and tell you, well, theoretically, Bitcoin, nah, forget all that. Do something about it. And it's not a loss if you lose money, if you learn along the way. That's what I tell people is if you're actually, it's about, you know, what you're actually fighting for, what you're actually going for. You know, I've lost money along the way. We all have. We've all had to pay tuition, as we call it. That's nothing. None of us complain about it because we're like, well, now that I know that, I don't have to make that mistake. And this is a very, very new industry. It's only 15 years old, so everybody's still learning. Even the experts, so to say. You know, I've talked to Adam Back, who is the only person mentioned in the white paper. Adam Back will tell you to this day, I'm still learning. He doesn't even call himself an expert. And this is the dude who created Hashcash back in the 90s. He's been working on cypherpunk code for like 40 years. He's still learning. So don't get overwhelmed with the terms and trying to learn like, oh, I need to figure it out. And if I don't, I'm not able to use it. No, get some skin in the game, get started. It's better to just jump out there. And as a business, if you talk with other business owners, they can help you as well to find your niche of where you can actually make money because there's so many places that are wide open. Like I remember early, it was design. Design was terrible. So designers were needed and they still are. We still need designers. There's still some terrible work out there. But you still need developers as well, but you can find your niche in certain things like smart contracts, with smart contract auditing. All of that is needed. Yourself, you have merch line. I have merch with the book. Most of the time, a lot of the merch companies, they shut down pretty quickly. They spring up and then they shut down. Well, if you want to last long term, a lot of the things you can do is stick out from the crowd. What are the things you can do to stick out from the crowd? I love the TikTok next block shirt, you know, different things like that. The shirts we used to have with the Gentleman of Crypto, Dinosaur of the Day. We had the Big Connect shirt. We get, you know, people on the channel like Jake Fever, they give us stuff. Find your niche there. You know, we got podcasts. You could do your own radio shows. You could do education. Like CJ, the smart guy, he's in accounting. If you're a lawyer, there's not that many Bitcoin lawyers. I know for a fact, one of the biggest industries that's about to take off with lawyers is divorce lawyers who know about Bitcoin because I've already started seeing some court documents, but I have an aunt who works for the court. She's an assistant to a judge. And she said, you know, in the last year, we've seen 10 cases with Bitcoin in it, and the judge has no clue what that is. And they're basically like, all right, well, we need, lawyers who are knowledgeable to actually know what they're even asking for. So that's wide open as well. It's very scarce. And, if you have a business, just go for it and get some skin in the game, learn, and you'd probably be surprised how open it is and how much people will help you.
Yeah, bro, that's sound advice. And shout out to Adam
Yeah.
Back. He's one of the people that really came early in the game. And even like Cornell University, they now have a Bitcoin degree. So, being a lawyer and going to these Ivy League schools, that might be something for people to really dig into as they start to really immerse themselves more into Bitcoin.
True. And I do want to throw out there with Cornell. I spoke with the girl who actually got it started at Cornell. So what it is at Cornell, you can choose a interdisciplinary study to focus on. And she chose Bitcoin and that's the first one. So it's not officially a Bitcoin diploma. However, I am a consultant for an app called Wizer, YZER. It's a Bitcoin and financial app. We are introducing a Bitcoin diploma on the app. So you can actually do it via your phone. There's 7 different modules you can go through. You learn about Bitcoin, you get the Bitcoin diploma, you can actually use that to market yourself to companies. So yes, they have the first official one as far as like brick and mortar, but we have the first, Mi Premier Bitcoin, which is based in, South America, but now we're the first ones in America to have it. So yeah, it's coming fast. And I think Bitcoin diplomas are going to take off, especially for the younger generation.
Yeah, it's so fire, man. I'm excited for it. Zay, I want to talk about, the biggest elephant in the room that, you were kind of involved in last year, 2 years ago, which was the FTX collapse and its aftermath. So the collapse of FTX has sent, of course, shockwaves through the crypto industry. How do you view the importance of speaking your mind on topics that are controversial? And is free speech truly free? Like, did that lead up to you being fired at Coindesk? Like, how do you feel about freedom of speech in this decentralized ecosystem?
Oh yeah. So let me tell you this. Before I got into Bitcoin, I've always spoken my mind. Freedom of speech is not something that I just started because I got money or something. Some people try to say that. It was like, well, it's easy for you to say what you want. You got money. I was like, you need to go talk to my friends and family from back in the day, because I've been getting canceled since I was young. Yeah, like I'll just give a quick example. When I was 19, I said some stuff about Obama, and every black person on the college campus hated me for like 2 months. Like, they were basically like out to get me, and somebody wrote something in the paper on college campus about to stop listening to coons like Isaiah. Like, I've had this since I was like 19. I've never been scared to speak out. The biggest problem is that other people are. That's what always irked me, is that why don't you exercise your freedom of speech and say what needs to be said or what you want to say, no matter what the consequences are. So let me just throw that out there. Second thing is, I've been canceled a few times. One of those, actually involved Cash App, which a lot of people don't understand. We kind of kept that in the tuck, but that's neither here nor there. But this time around, for those who don't know, FTX, when the exchange went down, at the exact same time that it went down, Kanye West came out with his rants. Kanye West is my favorite musical artist of all time, and I made a huge thread about FTX describing, the girl that was involved. Her name is escaping my mind right now, but the girl that was involved, the parents, how they were professors at Stanford, and all the connections they had with the Ukraine, all of that. So I made that post, and following it up, as Kanye is going on his rants, and everybody's like, oh, he's anti-Semitic. Following that up, all I said was, look at the people who ran FTX. Kanye was right. And I was speaking in jest, because the people that know me know I'm one of those people that jokes around all the time. I didn't think that, again, it was a Friday. This is why I always joke. I got fired on my day off.
What's up, man?
What's up?
Are you at work?
Got fired yesterday.
For real? I thought you had a day off yesterday.
I did. I went in there to pick up my check, came home. Supervisor called me about 4 o'clock. Talking about they got me on videotape stealing boxes.
What you doing stealing boxes for? What, you trying to build a clubhouse?
Because it was like Friday. It was literally a Friday. I was sitting in my backyard, enjoying the sun, tweeting, chilling. I'm just literally legs laid out. And, as soon as I tweeted it took like maybe 2 hours. And Coindesk, out of nowhere, they called the producer. I didn't even have my phone in my pocket. It was on the charger. I go in and I had like 12 missed calls from the producer, and she's like, please tell me you got hacked. Please tell me something happened. That was you that tweeted that? You tweeted blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, hold up, calm down. First of all, I will say I was in the backyard smoking weed, so I was already kind of mellow. I was like, first of all, calm down. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, she's just going off on whatever. And, she's cool. I don't have any problems with her. But as she's saying it, I'm like, hold up. Are you talking about the Kanye was right tweet? Because I really didn't think anything of it. Again, I'm laughing. I'm in the background. It's just chilling in my backyard. It's whatever. So I look. I take my phone. I look, and it's man. It was it was like a dumpster fire. I'm talking about just all the hate you can imagine, DMs and all of the fallout from that. And people were saying you're anti-Semitic and you hate Jewish people and you don't want to. One dude even came out and it was like, you're not even going to tell us your real name, blah blah blah. You got Bitcoin Zay and this and that. Show your face. And people were like, he has a whole book with his name on it. He's not hiding. Trust me. I was like, that's the one thing I'm not going to do. I'm not hiding anywhere. So it was a big fallout from that. I did that night, just to be transparent, I did a 5-hour Twitter Spaces. My first.
You feel you hurt people. You had the Twitter Spaces. Tell us about that. I mean, go into details. Tell us the story. The floor is yours.
Oh, yeah. So let me first start off by saying I am not anti-Semitic in any way. I denounce anti-Semitism and stand with all of my good Jewish people out there. So let's start there. Second thing is, I don't know how I got fired on my day off, like Craig. My first thing ever. It was for 5 hours. I went from 8 to 1 in the morning, answering questions, letting people come on and say what they wanted to say and tell me where I was wrong or tell me if I should have did something. But again, it started out in just like some other stuff. But you can ask Lamar. Me and Lamar had a long conversation about that. And he was like, I wish people knew you in real life because they would understand, like, you used to do stand-up comedy. You're a fun guy to be around. Nothing you do is really malicious. But they took it that way. So in light of that, I got fired from Coindesk, sure, but it was one of 12 jobs I have. I didn't really miss the money aspect of it. The thing I hated was that there was like a section of crypto that basically just like fell off forever. They were like, I just don't want to deal with him, whatever. Which was fine. It happens, but it's a year and some change now. It's happened, and the things that I stated in response to it, I just didn't feel like going back that route because there's some people that's real sensitive. I really can't do anything about how they feel. But the best thing I can do now is keep the freedom of speech alive. And other times I've been canceled. I could tell you about them, but it's just fun. It was always funny to me. None of that was malicious. Anything I've said. Some of the stuff I'll throw it out real quick, but I did say some stuff about Kamala Harris that got me canceled, almost basically got me kicked out of Black Bitcoin Billionaires. And, some people that were helping us along, like Jay-Z, Jack Dorsey, they disapproved of some of the things I said. But at this point, I don't care. I'm a free man. I mean it. When I tell people, it's like, if you knew what true freedom was, it wouldn't hurt you to say what you feel like saying. And I felt that way even before money or before, a book or a TV show or anything. So, freedom of speech is number one to me, and I want to keep it alive, keep it rolling, even more into the future.
Thank you for clearing that up, because of course, a lot of people can reference it, go back to the Twitter Spaces, go back to even the Coindesk tweet, which is like, I don't even know how many retweets that has right now. When they let you go, so it's just like, I think as time goes on, this is obviously a part of like Bitcoin history.
Absolutely, yeah. And just a little side note, I do want to throw in there the actual that time period of when it happened. People were already up in arms because of FTX going down. It was a really highly emotional time. So it was just like, to me, I wasn't emotional about anything because I never used FTX, but it was really highly emotional time, so it got kind of overblown. But I've had people come back later in my DMs and say, all right, man, I actually followed you for a little while. Yeah, I think you're funny. I like your message. I see you're not really malicious. It's not a big deal. So if people do bring it up later, I'm going to be like, man, that's it. Nobody cares about that. Like, let it go, bro. It was a misunderstanding. People got what they got out of it, and, it is what it is. Some people actually helped make famous on Twitter because in that Twitter Spaces, they were coming in and, they were arguing back and forth, and those people have catapulted their career big time. So it is what it is. I'm glad we got past it.
I read or I seen somewhere where you said that like you have like, educators in your family. I think was your mom a teacher?
Yeah, so my mother is a teacher. My aunt is a teacher. My grandmother is a teacher. I have an uncle that's a teacher. The education system has been around in my family for a long time, long line of educators. And, it's something that I actually started doing. You know how you ever go to the Chinese restaurant where you see the kid that's like 12 years old taking orders? That was me as in education space. When my mom had a summer camp, I was teaching the 6 and 7 year olds math when I was 12. So I've been literally teaching for at this point now, like 20 years. I taught high school, right after I got out of college. I got into Bitcoin and then I just started with education there because it's something I've always been familiar with. I did tutoring in college. I wrote people's papers in college, all of that, as far as teaching people. That's just the field that I was blessed to be talented in is education, the ability to take hard concepts and make them simple for any age group is my gift. And I've been doing it for so long now. One of the main things that Bitcoin is never going to run out. We always are going to need Bitcoin education because it's something every single day. I mean, the gentleman of crypto keeps me going because it's every day I'm reading. But even then, we can't keep up with it because it's literally every day something new is coming. So the education portion, my family definitely was deep in that. Public school, private school, after school, summer camps. We've been teaching. I mean, if you come to Charlotte, there's probably no adults over the age of under the age of 40. My parents haven't taught, or kids who haven't taught.
Yeah, that's fire, man. And I say that to kind of build on my next question, which is your continued education in Bitcoin through, of course, your book writing. And I know that one of your future projects, so I shouldn't even say future because I think it's kind of here now, which is Bitcoin in Black America Part 2, which is something that I've definitely been waiting on. I'm eager to read it. So, of course, following the success of your first book, is there a Bitcoin in Black America 2 that, we know is in the works, but is that finalized? Is that ready to hit the shelves? And how do you plan to measure the impact?
Which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin, right? Right? There's no second best. Okay. But take all your money, buy Bitcoin, then take all your time, figure out how to borrow more money to buy more Bitcoin, then take all your time and figure out what you can sell to buy Bitcoin. And if you absolutely love the thing that you don't want to sell it, go mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin with it. And if you've got a business that you love because your family works for the business that's in your family for 37 years and you can't bear to sell it, mortgage it, finance it, and convert the proceeds into the hardest money on earth, which is Bitcoin.
This channel is for education purposes only and is not affiliated with any financial institution. This is not financial advice. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now back to the episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the incident we just discussed, the FTX incident, was a part of the book not coming out. But even before that, some of the things that were written in Bitcoin in Black America 2, which has been written, I had to rewrite it about 10 times because it's been written. They shelved it. They wouldn't let it come out. When you talk about the wrong types of people, I had 2 bank accounts taken, PayPal, Stripe, Amazon. A lot of things were taken at that point. And then even the book itself, they wouldn't even allow publishing, and they shelved it for a while. But again, I just don't tell people my problems. And people are like, hold up, this has been going on for the last couple of years. I'm like, yeah, I've been in and out fighting with lawyers and all this stuff, whatever. But I just don't tell people because I'm like, once it comes out, you'll see what I mean when I say this book could change everything forever. Because the first one is kind of like 100 level college course. The second book is more like 200, 300 level, where it's elevating the information, but it's also certain subjects where we're able to basically push into the future with these solutions. The first one, kind of sets you up and it introduces people to the space. But this second one, we're talking about Bitcoin and reparations. We're talking about how Black is global, how we can actually impact across seas. We're talking about generational Bitcoin, showing how you can pass it down to the next generation. With self-custody. I discuss, 33 ways to earn Bitcoin without trading. I describe, how to set up your stack with private server, private VPN, private computers, private nodes, how to do non-KYC trading. All of that is in there. So I'm literally giving people like, here's the handbook to your freedom in the future. And I think that once people see Bitcoin in Black America 2, which is coming out this month, Black History Month, want to make sure we get that out this month. So once it comes out, the book tour is going to be mostly college focused, because I do want to focus more on colleges, but I'm still going to have, different dates like I had before. Still want to go to, like Southside Blockchain Group in Chicago and places in LA and places I was going to in Texas. Definitely going to still have a few dates at the strip club. I am still the first author in Bitcoin history, maybe in book history, to have a tour date at a strip club, but I'm still going to have that because, I try to reach all groups. I can go and teach people at Fidelity, and then I can also go to East Atlanta and stand outside a gas station and teach two dope boys. Like I've literally done that in the same day. Like it was Consultant Fidelity at 10 a.m. and then at 10 p.m. I'm standing in East Atlanta where OJ the Juice Man and Gucci Man grew up at, teaching people about Bitcoin outside of a gas station. Like I've done that in the same day. So I'm not one of those people that looks down on people's lifestyles or whatever. It looks down on certain people, because if Bitcoin's for everybody needs to at least hear about it. And I can go to sleep every night comfortably knowing I try to reach out to every group, every type of person, every color, every race, and definitely in my own culture and own group. So that's Bitcoin in Black America 2, and definitely get ready for it this month as well.
That's fire, man. That's really inspiring because a Bitcoin in Black America might have been your first like really highly publicized book, but it's just like in the music industry, like you're not really considered a author or a writer until you create that second book and it's successful. So, I hope and I definitely foresee that part 2 to Bitcoin in Black America will be something that people will definitely jump on. It's the perfect timing. It is Black History Month, so I think that this is the perfect time with the halving coming up to drop that book. So
yeah. And I floated a couple copies out. Martin Luther King Day, I started floating out a couple copies to some trusted people, advisors or whatnot, and they love it. And a lot of them are saying the same thing that I just stated, is like, dude, you just handed people like the manual. Like from this point, you can literally do everything in Bitcoin, at least for the next year or so, because it does change a lot. But I did basically try and poured everything I could into the second one. I didn't hold back.
So, I want to talk about inspiring people, right? So, for those in the Black community looking to get involved in Bitcoin, and you kind of discussed this briefly, whether they're an investor, FYI, this is not financial advice, a developer, an advocate, what advice would you give to them to navigate this space successfully?
Oh, yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, to navigate this space successfully, going back to what I stated before with networking, the first thing is you have to find good information. And one of the things that we've provided with Black Bitcoin Billionaires is you have dozens of great teachers and great sources of information so that you can actually learn whatever you're looking for to learn in this industry. You can learn it from someone that's reputable, that's trustworthy, and that won't lead you astray, because a lot of people have wasted a lot of time, years, basically, listening to the wrong people, buying stuff like BitConnect and USI Tech and all these scams and all this other stuff. And then, they're trying to navigate through and they're like, I don't know to trust. I don't know to listen to. And I think it's great that we have a central source where we've basically, in Bitcoin, there is no, certifications per se. There's no, thing to make us the best, so to say, but we have a decade-long track record of teaching people, and we've seen the results of that. So definitely, if you're navigating, one of the main things is find a good source of information, like Bitcoin Billionaires, of course, sign up for the newsletter, and, reach out to some of the people who are writing not only the newsletter, but have some of the products on the site and have helped out. I would also say when you're navigating this space, don't get shiny object. I forgot what it's called, but kind of shiny object theory, where you start seeing like, hey, I like Bitcoin, but I see this, it might go up 10,000%. Well, hey, I got a little bit of Bitcoin, but hey, man, this one project, my friend told me it's going to go up 10,000x in one day. And it's like, people start getting that shiny object syndrome, and it never ends up good. Over a long enough period, it never ends up good. I've only known 2 real traders who have made a lot of money in the crypto world, but both of them, they were like top of the line, Wall Street, state of the art trading bots type guys. You know what I mean? They're not like regular Joe Schmo with a laptop sitting there in the basement. So you definitely, in order to navigate, just block the noise. Block out all the noise. You're gonna get plenty of temptation where you're saying, man, I could have turned that 300 into 30,000. I could have turned. Everybody's gonna say that, and then once you actually try and do it, you'll see what we mean is where you try and get on the exchange and the button don't work, or the buy button don't work, or the sell button don't work, or you can't withdraw it, or a bear market comes and that coin goes down minus 99% and you're not able to move it. We've seen all of that stuff happen. So don't get shiny object syndrome. That's another thing. Also, when you look at take everything in the media with a grain of salt. And honestly, when I read most of the media, don't even take it with a grain of salt. Don't listen to it at all. Just read it, absorb it, and then come to the Bitcoin side and see what other people have to say about it. Because usually the writers are uninformed. They don't know what they're talking about. They have an agenda. And they've been saying Bitcoin is dead now for 15 years. They literally have written, I think, 99bitcoins.com. They got like 400 funerals for Bitcoin. Like they keep trying to find a way for it to die, and it's not going anywhere. So, don't listen to the press, block out the noise, find good, reputable people to learn from, and, take your time, take a deep breath. It's not going anywhere, because I know some people, in 2021, I was talking to some people, or 2020, sorry. They're like, man, this bull run is happening. I got to get in right now. And I'm like, it's fine. It's going to come back. What happened a year later? It went right back up to 50K. You know what I mean? Like, people came back. It was like, you were right. I should have just waited. And I was too excited. I'm like, see, just calm down, brother. Like, it's not that big. And then where were we right now? It's at 42. It's the same price it was 2 years ago and 3 years ago. It's like, it's not running away from you. And we're talking about something that's going to be going for the next 100 or so years. So just be patient and you'll be fine.
So I want to talk about, the vision for the future, right? Your vision for the future, as far as what do you want to do as a podcaster, as an author, as an entrepreneur, as a Bitcoin enthusiast? How do you envision the role of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies evolving within the Black community and the broader society? And when I say that, like, what changes or developments are you most hopeful of?
Oh, yeah. So there's some positive and some negatives. So the positive aspects that I've seen that I'm very hopeful for is the peer-to-peer market in developing countries, where people have the ability to trade Bitcoin and other crypto assets if they want with others without a third party, which is the point. This is what we're all doing this for. That's why, the white paper is called Bitcoin electronic peer-to-peer cash system. That's literally what it was built for. So I do see that coming back. We kind of lost our way. And, it was the ICOs and then DeFi and then all the tokens and then and now we're working our way back to why Bitcoin was created. So I do see that coming in underdeveloped places. Very excited for that. My friend Ray Yusuf, who used to run Paxful, he now runs CivKit and No Ones, based in, different African countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe, things like that. The ability for peer-to-peer is great. One of the things I'm looking forward to in the future, is different countries like El Salvador, like Central African Republic, like maybe Argentina, where they took away taxes. I think there's going to be a big influx or I should say a big outflow of Bitcoiners who move to different countries and take their talents to places that will pay them to come, that will actually literally pay you. You're a Bitcoiner, you worth this amount? All right, come here, because we're going to, we're just trying to build it up. I'm excited for that, because even though I love America and I definitely want to help build it up and be where it is, that's the negative side of it. We have people that are working on government. They don't want to see the best for America. They're just out for themselves. So when you talk about the Elizabeth Warrens and you talk about some of these, crypto haters that are trying to introduce all of these different laws and regulations to stifle innovation, that's coming. That's the fight that we talk about. First they laugh at you and then, later, then they fight you. We're in the fight right now.
Hey there, fellow Bitcoin enthusiasts. We just wanted to take a moment to appreciate you for tuning in to the Bitcoin Source, a Bitcoin conversation. Your support means the world to us as we dive into the exciting world of Bitcoin, blockchain, and all things cryptocurrency. If you've been enjoying our content, don't forget to hit that like button. It's like a virtual high five that keeps us motivated. And hey, sharing is caring. If you know someone who'd geek out over Bitcoin as much as we do, hit that share button. Finally, if you want to stay up to date with all our latest episodes and insights, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss a single update. Thanks for being a part of our community. Keep exploring, and remember, the future is decentralized. Now back to the episode.
And I think I'm actually looking forward to it, simply because they know they can't win. It's just, I just can't wait to see how it plays out, where they're like, well, we're going to try and ban it all. And I'm like, you know what happened during Prohibition? When they banned alcohol, the price went ridiculous. Like it was 1,000 times more than it would have been. It was so expensive. And everybody basically was like, well, everybody drinks. It got to the point where they were like, all right, well, everybody has Bitcoin. They got the ETFs. Forget it. Let's just, let it be let it be open and let people use it. Kind of like China. China banned it how many times? 20 times. And now they got a Hong Kong ETF coming. So I'm excited to see that when the floodgates open and it becomes more mainstream and more people are using it without actually knowing they're using it. Like, people at this point, they're like, well, I got to set up a wallet. I got to learn about this. I got to do. At a certain point, Bitcoin is going to be like the foundation of a lot of businesses. And I'm excited to see this, where people are transacting and they don't even know that the settlement layer is happening behind it. Like, they don't even realize, like, the reason why all your payments are secure and you can make digital payments is because of the Bitcoin layer behind it. So I'm excited for that. As far as individually, I'm excited for the second book, the book tour, the summer camp. I'm excited to see these kids actually grow up in a Bitcoin world. No kid under the age of 15 has lived in a world without Bitcoin. So you got a whole. I'm so excited to see this new influx of kids who've lived in this digital world. They're going to definitely impress us. And I'm very excited to see people like Peter Schiff and other people that hate Bitcoin eat their words, even though they're not. I don't think they're malicious. It's just always funny to see them have to sit and they knew about Bitcoin at $10, and if Bitcoin, once it hits 1 million at some point, they're just like, there's nothing more they can really say. So I'm excited for all that in the future, man.
Yes, Bitcoin Zay, bro. This interview has been, man, this is next level, man. This is an honor for me. Like I said, man, I sat back a few years ago reading your book and listening to you, and now I have you on the Bitcoin Source. So, brother, thank you for this interview. This has been insightful, powerful, and I hope people enjoy it. Before you go, if you got any social media handles or stuff you want to throw out there.
So Twitter is my only social media, at Bitcoin Zay. That's the only one. I don't use any other social media, only Twitter. And I know some people want to call it X, but it's Twitter. Mama call you Clay, I'm gonna call you Clay. So it's Twitter, at Bitcoin Zay, and then bitcoinandblackamerica.com. I'm redoing the website, but bitcoinandblackamerica.com. Once it's up there, that's where you can find everything you need to know about the tour, about the books, and then also got some special things coming, like some trading cards, some some action figures, some things like that. Keeping it a little on the hush, but all that will be on the website. So check me out there, and hopefully you'll see me on either podcast or on TV soon.
Bitcoin Zay, ladies and gentlemen, we out.